Welcome to the Exam Room Podcast, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hi, I'm the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thank you so very much for watching and downloading in more than 150 countries around the world and making the Exam Room one of the most consumed nutrition podcasts anywhere on the planet today. And today, we are focusing on the best diets for 2025. Every year, U.S. News and World Report, they put together a comprehensive list of the best diet for overall and a whole bunch of other categories. And as I was flipping through the rankings this year, I saw a familiar face at the bottom of the screen under expert panelist. I said, hey, I know her. And then I said, hey, we should get her on the show to talk about it. I'm talking about from Married to Health, our dear friend. She is an extraordinary human being, Dahlia Marin. Thanks so much for being here again.
Thank you for having me. It's always exciting chatting with you.
Well, I mean, listen, the honor, I always say this to my guests just to butter them up, saying, well, the honor is all mine. But no, seriously, today, like, the honor is all mine because I think that this is a pretty prestigious thing to be on this panel of experts and ranking these diets for something like U.S. News and World Report. Their rankings are really considered the gold standard by a lot of experts out there.
I was extremely honored to be invited and asked to participate, and I'm excited to share about the process because it was so much more involved than I ever thought it would be.
True or false, when you first saw the invitation hit your email, you were skeptical that this was actually a real thing.
So true. I literally told my assistant, I said, the signature looks a little odd. It's crossed out. I think it's a scam, but just in case it's not, can you please look into it? Follow up. I literally Googled the editor's name because I was like, is this person even legit? Do they work for US News and World Report? And sure enough, she did. And it was, in fact, a legitimate invitation. And I was honored to be asked. But yes, I did have my reservations at first and needed to vet it.
I completely understand. I completely understand. Now let's talk about this process. They come to you because you're a registered dietitian. You've got this
Mhm.
amazing brand, Married to Health. You're helping just thousands of people. But what is this process really like? Take us inside because it seems like there are experts from literally every walk of life that have weighed in here.
Yes. So I was honored to be amongst the 69 experts that they polled this year. And that includes people like medical doctors, registered dietitians, nutritional epidemiologists, chefs, weight loss researchers, and those who they consider to be leaders in their respective fields. So I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm leading. And so they polled us based on first what they heard response from consumers on. So to give context, they actually polled about 3,500 consumers first, and they kind of asked them, hey, what diets are you looking into? And why do you even want to be on a diet? What are your motivations for following either these lifestyle changes or these short term, long term diets? And they got feedback from those 3,500 consumers on things like they wanted to lose weight quickly. They wanted to maintain weight loss. They wanted to learn how to eat healthy. They wanted to just overall feel better. They wanted to reduce risk of chronic disease. And so from that, they then extrapolated upon it and really looked into what are some of the most common diseases now that people are dealing with. And these were actually 13 new categories that they added this year that they have never included before. And so they wanted to know from all of the above, if somebody wants to achieve any one of those things, quick weight loss, long-term weight loss, sustainable lifestyle change, mental health change, gut health change, what are some of those diets that are going to support that?
All right. So 69 experts are analyzing all of these diets. How many diets were you actually looking at? I mean, was it 100? Was it 200? Was it 10,000? Because it seems like there's a diet for every day of the week.
There certainly are. So they narrowed it down to 38 different diets. Some of them did overlap in many, many ways, but there were 38 individual diets that we then were presented. We had to study and we had to give feedback on every single one of the diets. And then these 20 specific categories to categorize the diets under these different subcategories of what's then the best diet out of all these 38 diets for arthritis, diverticulitis, fatty liver, inflammation, brain health. So it was interesting that we got to see and read about some of these diets that I, as a registered dietitian, had never heard about. And then we got to put them in these different categories and in these different buckets of who we thought these diets could help.
Was it hard for you, in all honesty, to check your bias? Obviously, you're very much a proponent of farm to table, plants as much as possible. And a lot of the diets on there were very much anything but plant heavy. So, how hard was it for you to check that personal bias?
I think the way that they asked us questions made it easy to really check that bias because when you're being asked, what is the best diet for long term sustainable health? I'm not going to pick the Optavia diet, right? Which is you're purchasing these little prepackaged meals, and that makes it easy to rule certain things like that out. Um, One of the options amongst the many plant based diets that we were presented was the Flexitarian diet. And so, just kind of keeping consumers in mind, keeping evidence in mind of what is most sustainable. I think most of us had similar goals in mind and a similar consensus that a very plant forward, if not 100% plant based, was the way to go. Because that was, in the end, one of the top ranked diets was, or all of the top ranked diets, actually, the top 10 were plant forward diets, predominantly plant based.
What was the top diet overall this year?
It has been year after year after year, and it was the Mediterranean diet. And so they even said the Mediterranean diet can be 100% plant based, but just naturally, the Mediterranean diet is extremely rich in plants, antioxidants, and polyphenols. So, what we're seeing year after year is the Mediterranean diet is king. And that really is concurrent with the current evidence that we have that 80 to 100% plants in the diet is what is most conducive to your best health. So following a Mediterranean type plan is really what us experts have concluded is the way to go. And interestingly enough, consumers also picked that. When they polled the consumers, they actually found that the Mediterranean diet was the top diet consumers picked for being easiest to follow. Second was the Ornish diet. And then third was the Flexitarian diet. So, really, of the top six that they polled with consumers, a majority of them were plant based diets because then you have the Pritikin diet, which is a 100% plant based diet on there. And then also you have Dr. Wiles' anti-inflammatory diet, which is heavily based in plants.
All right, let's talk about the whole food plant-based diet. I know a lot of the exam roomies, that's the one that they go
Mhm.
to. That's the one that they consider to be the gold standard.
Yes.
That particular diet hasn't been mentioned just yet. Was that on the list for the diets that you all were considering?
Yeah. So there was the whole food plant-based diet, and then you had iterations of that. There was the Pritikin diet. Again, you had the Ornish diet, which isn't 100% whole food plant-based, but yes, one of the options that we did have was the whole food plant-based diet.
And how did that rank? I would imagine that in terms of ease of following, consumers may not have been too keen on that. Did it lose points in that for that reason?
It didn't come out in the top 10 when we polled it as experts, but we did see that the flexitarian diet was the number 3 diet that was picked by experts. So, I mentioned what consumers were picking was, things like the Ornish diet, Pritikin diet, but top in the top 3, number 3 was the flexitarian diet. So, just for ease of access, long-term sustainability, certain questions like that that were asked by experts, I think that really enabled us to pick some of these other options like the flexitarian.
What surprised you in these rankings? Did anything pop up there that you were like, man, I didn't expect that to score so high, or conversely so low?
I would say when I saw the results, they were pretty consistent with what I expected to see. I expected to see the Mediterranean diet up there. We do know other diets are more ubiquitous and more widespread in healthcare. So the DASH diet, for example, heavily enforced by cardiologists and those who educate on hypertension, cardiovascular disease. So the DASH diet came in at number 2, which is basically a predominantly plant-based, low sodium diet. So that one didn't surprise me at all. I was very happy to see the flexitarian diet, not surprised to see the flexitarian diet. And then the ones that came in the rest of the categories were all very similar. You found things like the mind diet, which is basically a marriage of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. So those two were in the top 3. This was number 4. You had the Mayo Clinic diet and the TLC, the therapeutic lifestyle change diet. very similar to one another. All of these diets, when I was reading the background and information, what to include, what to exclude on these diets, they were saying the same thing. Include high antioxidants, include a wide variety of colorful plants, exclude ultra refined processed foods, exclude alcohol, exclude artificial dyes. So a lot of these had very similar components. And then you have the Cleveland Clinic diet, which is almost exactly the same as the Mayo Clinic diet. Again, Dr. Wiles' anti-inflammatory diet. They're just different iterations of one another, if I'm being honest. But, these ones were really the most intuitive, I would feel, for people to follow, where it's intuitive to say, if I'm trying to improve my body composition and lose weight, if I'm trying to improve my mental health, if I'm trying to reverse fatty liver, improve my gut health, I should cut out processed foods and alcohol and highly refined foods. And I should be including more antioxidants and whole foods.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've talked about that on this show so many. I mean, heck, when you and James were on this show, like we talked a
Mm.
lot about that too. But I love the way that they laid this out with all of these different categories. You mentioned the
Yes.
categories there: arthritis, brain health, diabetes, diverticulitis, fatty liver, gut health, healthy eating, heart health, high blood pressure, plant-based, weight loss, pre-diabetes, mental health, menopause, inflammation, high cholesterol. And then the one I think maybe you got particularly excited about was best diets for IBS.
Yes.
Ranking at the top there was the low FODMAP diet. And that's
Mhm.
something that Dr. Will Bolsowitz and I have talked about on this
Mhm.
show. I'm curious, why did that one score so high when it comes to IBS?
So, when it comes to irritable bowel syndrome, what we're seeing for a majority of people is what is making their bowels irritable is usually something like constipation, or it is something like gastroenteritis that kind of just came in and wreaked havoc and left their gut a mess. So, in that case, when either your gut is full of it, quite literally, or just in disarray, you want to really ease the burden on the gut. And the more work and more fermentability there is to your foods, the more fermentable carbohydrates you're including, the more work that your gut and the microbes have to put in. And as a natural byproduct of their work, when they're putting in that work, they're going to produce gas, and that is their work, and that's going to create a lot of discomfort. So naturally, because it produces pretty quick results, the low FODMAP diet came out top. It is also the most researched diet in the field of IBS, in the field of gut health. It's a quick go-to elimination diet that's included even in the American College of Gastroenterology guidelines. So it's one that many experts are familiar with. There's strong patient compliance with it, almost to a detriment, where they follow it for too long. And then they're actually hurting their gut at that point when they're following it for longer than the 6 weeks of elimination. But we do find that it is a highly effective tool. We do see, though, it's not the only option. Studies show the low FODMAP diet works for 50 to 80% of people who follow it. So that does leave out 20 to 50% of people who will try the low FODMAP diet. So that's where we look into other options. I wasn't super excited to see the next one that came out for gut health, the low residue diet.
Yeah, hold on. What is the low residue diet? That one was completely unfamiliar to me. I had never heard of this one.
To be honest, I'm offended by the low residue diet, Chuck. Like,
Uh-oh.
it
Uh-oh. Get
is
it
it
off your
is
chest. Vent, girl, vent.
ugh, oh my gosh, talk about opposite of whole food plant-based, right? Basically, they're insulting fiber and calling it residue. Like, how dare you talk about my dear fiber that way? It is not a residue. It is not something that is going to gunk up the intestines like they're making it seem, but it is an old school diet. So I was actually really sad to see that the low residue diet was picked as number two, but it's just historically been used as kind of a go to of your gut's irritable or your gut's inflamed. Maybe you have IBD, maybe you have celiac, maybe you have IBS. Leave out the residue. Don't eat fiber, you'll feel better. And it's almost, I know we chatted about this when James and I were on. It's almost like those who go keto or carnivore. It's like, is it really the plant's fault that your gut is in disarray? Or could we clean up the gut and then you're tolerating this fiber where it's not residue, it's actually nourishment for your microbes. This fiber is what your microbes thrive off of. So instead of saying, well, because my microbes are off and they're fermenting this fiber, or I'm inflamed, and fiber possibly could irritate things temporarily, I'm going to leave it out. It's saying, let me work on the gut. So that way, this fiber is a rock star at cleaning up my gut. It's not something I'm thinking is going to leave behind residue. So I wasn't super happy about that one.
Residue. I just don't like that term. Like, that is not a word that I would consider to be synonymous with fiber, for
I
goodness
know,
sakes.
right? Right?
Like, what
Residue
what
is
is it?
like saturated fat. It is just something that
Y
clings around when you don't want it to. Fiber
yeah,
doesn't do that to us.
residue.
It's
What
our
the f
friend.
fiber's a scrub brush.
It,
Come on, people. And
it
then, gluten-free diet came in at number 3. You had mentioned celiac disease, so I'm not really surprised to see that on the list. I am a little bit, like, perplexed that we didn't see a plant-based option here.
Mhm.
Perhaps it's because somebody with IBS kinda has to graduate or get that gut cleaned up a little bit before, graduating back over into the whole food plant-based category. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why?
Maybe. I don't know. I was surprised to see that one as well, but I wasn't shocked to see gluten-free on there because we do know that's usually the first thing people will go to. They'll cut out gluten, they'll cut out dairy. And what we actually find is in a majority of cases, unless one is celiac or very strongly non-celiac gluten sensitive, usually it's not the actual gluten protein that's in wheat, barley, and rye that people are reacting to. It is the FODMAP. It is the fructans that are in the wheat, barley, and rye that people end up fermenting and reacting to. So it didn't surprise me that the gluten-free diet was on there. But I would agree with you that eating more plants tends to be a favorable way to eat for the microbiome because, again, that's what the bugs are craving.
Yeah. All right. Now let me share my screen. There's been a lot of talk this year, well, in 2024, about the connection between diet and brain health.
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised at all that there is that huge component here. So I pulled up the best diets for brain health. And before we get into the rankings, and you will see spoilers here, I just want to come down to the bottom of the page. So you
mhm.
all can, where'd she go? There she is, right there, expert panelist. That's what I saw and about fell out of my chair. That's
Ah.
just gotta make you proud as anything, right?
I have not really even gone through every single page to see where I am, but that is exciting to see that.
That's right, that's right, and
Mhm.
because this is America, you can also get your top 5 brain supplements. Just click that banner down below. But at the top of the list, the MIND diet. No surprise there when you're talking about brain health that the MIND
Mhm.
diet, scored the top,
Yes.
followed closely again by our friend, the Mediterranean diet. Anything here really surprise you?
Again, these are pretty much the top 10 that we saw. A lot of these, I think they picked maybe 7 or 8 here as the top for brain health. But what we do know is there's a reason why we have that saying good mood food, right? When you are nourishing your gut well, when you are nourishing your body well, decreasing inflammation, you have fewer inflammatory signals going up to the brain because we do know 80% of signals go from brain to gut. Only 20% go from, or I'm sorry, 80% go from gut to brain, only 20% go from brain to gut. So if you're decreasing inflammation ubiquitously throughout the body, especially through the gut, that's going to decrease those inflammatory responses and alert messages to the brain. And then we also know we make 70 to 90% of our neurotransmitters in our gut. So we're producing things like serotonin, which chills us out and makes us feel calm. We produce dopamine, which makes us feel happy in the gut, and GABA, which helps us focus and feel driven and balanced in the gut. So, if you're decreasing inflammation in the gut, which I would say all of these diets listed would achieve, you are going to have better brain health and better mental health and reduce your risk for neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's, dementia, and other types of cognitive diseases.
I'm surprised that the Ornish diet didn't make this list, given that it was his research
Mm.
that just really exploded within the last 12 months or so regarding this. But, you know, that's why they got the best of every single year, I suppose. Before
Yes.
we talk about what's happening with you all over at Married to Health, I got to
Mhm.
ask a little bit more about how this particular cookie is made. So, were these just one-on-one conversations that you were having with the editors at US News, or did you guys all hop on a Zoom and kind of like battle it out for nutrition wits to see which diet was going to be number one? How did that happen?
So we were all invited to participate, and once you agreed, you were sent a very long survey to complete. And I will say it took me probably about 3 weeks to complete the survey. I would work on it a couple days a week. But the survey was, again, hundreds and hundreds of questions because you had to rank each diet and then categorize the diets for what condition you thought they would help with most. And then they have a very specific scoring system that they would utilize to take everybody's answers in and score them and weigh them against one another to then come up with these number systems that you're seeing, because you're seeing a 4.6 or a 3.2 or 2.9 next to some of these diets. And that's basically overall the consensus of us 69 experts with that specific diet for this specific condition. So, some of them weren't even that impressive. For example, in gut health, I think the gluten-free diet got a 2.9 out of 5, which is like, that's kind of not the best score. That's like a C, but it must have been higher than the rest. So it was a very intricate system that they used in order to score all of our answers. And yeah, outside of just some email communication, there wasn't interviewing of each specific 69 experts, but I know they said for each diet, they did bring in either a medical doctor or a registered dietitian and interview that person one-on-one for every single individual diet. So it seems like they got a little bit of both.
Man, yeah, I was really hoping you were like, yeah, we all got into this conference room and it was just like a
That'd be
crazy insanity. I don't know how a lot of people didn't make it out of there. It was just a battle in
elbows
there.
thrown. Yeah,
Yeah, just totally. Somebody's coming off the top rope. Somebody's putting another person through a table. I don't know what kind of chaos. And watch out
I
for that
love it.
chair. By God. Uh,
I would love to see that.
that would be so much fun, wouldn't it? Man, maybe I can talk Dr. Barnard into letting us do that at ICNM. Talk to us
Ian.
about what's going on with you over at Married to Health. I know you and James, your husband, you guys are always doing big things. How's the practice going?
The practice is going extremely well. Thank you. We just what year are we in? We're in our fourth year of just being us, because Married to Health used to partner with other physicians and other practices. So, as just a practice of dietitians, we're in year four now. And we just surpassed about, I think, almost 3,000 patients that we've served in those 4 years. And that is amongst the 8 dietitians that we have on board. So, James and I are so, so, so grateful to lead our incredible team of dietitians, because it just enables us all to excel at what we're really good at and passionate about. We have our team of gut experts. We have dietitians who are experts in oncology and breast health. We have pediatric dietitians. We have mental health dietitians, those who are versed in eating disorders, disordered eating, metabolic health and metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, lifestyle nutrition. So it is so fun to get us all together. And we almost have panels like this where we're like, okay, this is the newest diet. Let's break it down in our own little mini cohort of the 8 of us. And we'll go live on whatever we think of the newest, latest, and greatest fad that's out there, or, new testing that's out there, and just give our honest opinions as integrative dietitians who are all plant-based and really all just have that heart to help people. So, outside of just what our dietitians are doing, we have our SIBO IBS course. It is our Good Gut SIBO IBS course. It is the first and one of the only 100% plant-based courses for those who have been diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome and have found out, maybe a cause of my irritable bowel syndrome is dysbiosis, gut imbalance, and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So for those with that specific condition, we've created an extremely comprehensive course, and it is self-paced for them to kind of go learn what they need to learn. We have meal plans and diet plans for 7 different types of dysbiosis that a person can have. We have interactive quizzes. We have experts in there, anything from gastroenterologists, pelvic floor therapists, to primary care, mental health, every aspect that could interfere with the gut or support the gut as well. And then we have cool events coming up. So not only do we have in-person speaking engagements, I was mentioning we'll be at the Plantation Project conference this year. We also are putting on our own events. We have our Southern California regenerative farm event this year that we're opening up to the public for the first time ever. It's our third year holding the event. In the past, we've invited doctors and chefs and dietitians and those who are really passionate about the plant-based and regenerative food space. This year, we want to make it an interactive experience where people are on the farm learning things like, how do I release my tight fascia that could be affecting my gut? How do I incorporate more fermented foods and actually make fermented foods? How do I quiet these anxious thoughts that I'm having? So we have some cool and exciting things coming up. I'm really excited about 2025.
Yeah, and look at that handsome couple there. This is on the website. You go to
Thank
more, click on
you.
events, and then here's the gut health experience. San Juan Capistrano. Man, I
Yeah,
haven't been there since I was like, geez Louise, I don't know, 5 years old or something like that.
it's
It'll
time to
be
come
it'll be
back.
great. Yeah, August 8th through 10th.
Hopefully, we'll
I
see you
believe
there.
my calendar is clear. Yeah, we
All
can make
right.
that happen for
We
sure.
can't wait. We're
Is
looking
James
forward to it.
is James in earshot perchance, Dahlia? Can he hear me right now?
He can't hear you, but I can
All right.
summon him if
No,
you'd
no, no,
like
no,
him
no, no,
to
no, no, no.
join
This
us.
is not the time to summon him. We got to talk one on one. What is the best
Okay.
part of working with your husband?
Honestly, I just feel like we are just besties. Like, we just love our time together, and we've always worked together. So it's not like we became dietitians and started working together. James and I met in college. We have always collaborated. At one point, I was the president of the nutrition club at school. He was the president of the Nutrition Honor Society club at school. So we kind of co chaired with one another. We've just always worked together, volunteering in nonprofits together and starting our own company together. And I just think it's exciting to learn from one another because as similar as we are so different. Like, James will say these just big picture, to me, outlandish things, and I'm like, "Wait, hold on, this is kinda like this is how we keep it PC." But we're so different, but I think have such a respect for one another of just how hard we've individually worked and what we've created with one another. It's just fun to do things together. Next month, we have one of our favorite events of the year, Natural Products Expo. I don't know if you've ever been to a Natural Products Expo.
I have never been.
Oh
I've
my
heard that it's
gosh.
a wild time though.
It is seriously adult Halloween. Like, you
What?
trick or treat, basically, and it is
What?
the time of the year where all these companies debut their newest products, and some of them are very greenwashed. Like, don't get me wrong, it's called Natural Products Expo. You see it all. You see things that are unprocessed, you see things that are ultra hyper processed there and really just gimmicky marketing things, but that is one of our favorite things to do together every year, where we're getting to just go try new products. Sometimes we get invited by some of the vendors to either be at their booths or attend dinners with them, do speaking engagements with them there at Natural Products Expo. So we're excited for that. That's coming up. And yeah, we get to go to conferences together, and like, it's just fun.
That does sound like fun, especially with
It is
its,
fun.
when you're doing that with your best friend in the world, like
Yes.
that's all good. Like I was going to ask you, like, what's the hardest part of working with your husband? I was like, nah, let's keep it positive, right? But yeah, man, you guys always look so happy together for real.
Thank
Like
you.
yeah, like it works, and I think that people see that, and I think that that's why you guys are thriving right now. So
Thank
I'm
you.
really super proud of everything that you guys have accomplished. And I guess my final question is about that Natural Products Expo. How big are the swag bags? Like, are you guys buying a
Mhm.
suitcase just to like get everything back home with you?
So it's actually a 5-day event, and they've gotten smart because we've been going for over 10 years now. But in the last several years, they limit you to 2 bags per person. They don't limit the size of your bag, but you can take 2 bags out per person. If you're trying to walk out with 5 bags, they will stop you at the door and they'll make you leave 3 of them there. So you honestly, though, once you're more experienced and less bright-eyed, bushy-tailed about it, you're more selective. Because James and I end up going to sometimes 2.5 days of the expo, and most of the time we walk out with like 1 bag each, maybe 1.5, because we're like, I'm not interested in taking these things home. We're not looking for products that are full of ultra refined sugar or refined oils or animal products. So for us, we have very specific things in mind of what are we looking for? What are our consumers looking for? What are we actually excited about sharing with the public? So you could try to load up, and every day you could fill up 2 bags, but once you're experienced there and you have your certain goals in mind, you don't really want to.
I mean, I got you. I got you. I have never been. I would love to go. So vendors,
Oh
I'm
my god.
available. But I just think that it could be, fun to walk out of there with like two huge. They didn't say like the size of the bag doesn't matter. So like
No,
trunks, like
could be.
trunks of stuff,
Yeah.
and
Well,
then like you've got Christmas presents
there we
for the,
go.
for the next year, like
We
Christmas, birthdays, any
all of it.
celebration, graduations,
And
like
truly, I do that. I do actually gift some of the stuff, but our
thanks.
daughter usually comes with us on the last day because we've by then achieved kind of what we need for business. And the last day is just fun to walk around, and she loves it. She's been going literally since she was 2 years old. So for 8 years, she's been going. And one year, she got a 5-foot gorilla off of one of these vendors' booths because they had to tear down their booth and they were from out of state and they were like, we're not shipping these back home with us. So she was walking around with a 5-foot gorilla that we had to take on the bus and drive home with us. So she loves going with us too. And especially on the last day, because vendors are like, oh, here, little cute girl, take whatever you want.
Oh, that's so good. Oh man, the power of the bright eyes and the big
Oh yeah.
smile when it's a little kid. Man, that's hard to say no to. Do you still have the gorilla?
Oof. We lost the gorilla along the way. It
Um,
was a
oh,
blow up gorilla. I think our
so
dog popped it or something.
little prayer for the gorilla.
This year we'll see what we end up with.
Is she gonna follow in y'all's footsteps? Is she looking into medicine at all? Do you know?
She's a cool girl. We actually are just shadowing her at this point. She received an offer this year to actually be in a movie.
What?
So,
What?
yeah, so we are seeing pending funding for this film, but she met a director at an expo that she went to with her karate sensei. He's very into Power Rangers, so she went to Morphicon Expo with him this year, and she met a director there who really liked her and thought it was really cool that she's been practicing martial arts and taekwondo since she was 2 years old. She's 10 now. And she not only does that, but she does tumbling and aerial silks. So she knows how to do really cool action tricks like a aerial flip where she doesn't use her hands. And so this director just really liked her personality and her skill set. And so we are kind of following whatever she wants to do. She has lots of ambitions. She wants to be an actress and she wants to have a dog restaurant and an animal sanctuary. And she says she wants to be a dietitian as well. So she could do it all. And we're here for it. We're here to support her with all of it.
That's amazing. What was I doing when I can't even remember. I'm sure I was messing up in some way, shape, or form, but man, she's got a good head on her shoulders already. The world is truly her oyster. So I look forward to seeing
Thank
what the future
you.
holds for her. But listen, thank you so much for your time, Dahlia. Like, this has been great. Thanks for bringing us inside the diet ranking process and telling us about everything that you guys have coming up. And I would love to see you guys in August in San Juan Capistrano
Yes.
at the Regenerative Nutrition and Gut Health Experience. I just think that that's a
Yes.
fantastic thing. So,
And we want to
um,
make it out to the ICNM conference as
come
well and
on.
see
It's
you all
it's like
there.
literally the following week. So come on.
And you're in DC, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's in DC. My brother lives out there, so we'll just
Come on.
feed two
You
birds
got it.
with one seed. Family visit, business,
Holla.
all of it.
Holla. Yeah, man. I'll show you
Well, we'll
guys the good
connect.
plant-based eats here. Like we got a planta now, which I thought was
Mm,
pretty big time, right? Very
mhm,
excited about that.
mm,
Fruitive is always a go-to.
amazing.
Then there's the whole food, plant-based, SOS free, Green Fair Organic Cafe, which is
Mm,
always a go-to.
I've never been there.
Yeah, like it's all good eats, man. Come on. You
Can't
and
wait.
James, bring
All
the
right.
kids. Let's
We're gonna
go.
connect many times this year.
All right,
We
rock
look
on.
forward
Thank
to
you,
it.
Dahlia. Appreciate
Thank
you. Oh, by the
you.
way, link to everything is down below the Married to Health website, the best diets rankings, everything that you guys need down below in the show description and in the episode notes. You are the best. Give James my best as well, Dahlia.
Likewise. Likewise. We always enjoy it. Can't wait till next time. Thanks so much.